Okay, so quite some time ago, Rational Thought asked me to do a brief summary of Paint.net for those that are interested in starting YouTube videos and require some form of image editing software to make, well, images. Yeah, I really should have written some stuff down for this. So, I personally use Paint.net because it was recommended to me by Benny. Benny recommended it because I used to use an avatar that I designed myself with bits all over the internet put together, like Armored Skeptics. But as I'm a clone, it's something else, I guess. Before moving on to my current cartoon avatar, I do, however, still use Paint.net, and I use it extensively for things like my thumbnails, which are actually designed from a template, which I, again, designed, but it is very easy to do in Paint.net, much like it is in GIMP, but GIMP is a very messy piece of software, so yeah, don't use GIMP. GIMP can get fucked. Now, if I could get OBS to actually work for once, I would go through how I make a template for a thumbnail, as I have over the last 12 months changed my thumbnail templates 3 times, and stuck with those templates until I either got bored or hit a milestone for my channel. Go subscribe, seriously. I need more subs. Instead, though, I'm going to use some image stills, and I'm going to tell you about certain add-ons I use to make my particular thumbnails, to quote Irate Bear, shit hot. If he thinks mine is shit hot, he really should see Mim Headrooms. I have a strange feeling if I try and sell this in any other way, it's going to sound like an advert for Paint.net. Needless to say, I'm hardly built to be a salesperson, but I can tell you briefly about a few of the functions I use, which I have tried repeatedly to screen record even through Hangouts and failed miserably to do. Now, these functions are ones I use on a regular basis. For example, you have the ability to use multiple layers, meaning that each individual element you add to your image has some autonomy to it. It is also then free to be edited and amended without impacting on other layers of your image. And you can merge those layers or duplicate the layer depending on what you intend to do. If you merge layers, it basically saves all the extra layers. If you duplicate, you can take one of the duplicates, make it a single color, and use an effect called a Gaussian blur, generating a white rim or a colored rim of some kind, whichever you choose, around the outer edge of your image. You can repeat this and then merge the layer on that blur. It'll sharpen it. I used to use this quite a lot on my templates so that if I had a blue backdrop with my blue avatar, there was less chance of it clashing with a white rim or blur, Gaussian blur, I think that's how you pronounce it, protecting my image. You can also use it to then insert text and duplicate layers. There's also a function called a gradient. Now, if you have writing separate to your main layer, you can use a gradient by shift-clicking with a magic wand function to select all the letters in your writing and use a gradient to change the colors, to have 2 separate colors running through all your writing, which is a rather cool ability. Paint.net has the same things, items, functions, capabilities of that of Paint and of GIMP, and quite a lot of the more extensive softwares. Yes, okay, it doesn't render to the highest standard of Photoshop, but for something that is free, for something that you can download multiple add-ons for, you get remarkable quality for free. And let's face it, I don't mind losing out on a little bit of quality if I'm not having to pay as much for it, although I would obviously say something slightly different with regards to video editing software. Now, YouTube for thumbnails, and I generate my thumbnails in Paint.net, recommends 1280 by 720 dimensions or 1920 by 1080 dimensions. I personally go with the 4K dimensions because using a larger image, there is more space for me to hide any mistakes I make in editing the image or the person I am responding to, which usually has a picture of that person indicating the video is about that person. I thought I'd point this out because Paint.net offers great opportunity to either amend images or to create images, and has a whole array of elements and inbuilt functions that best serve a user who is just learning to edit images. And just for clarity's sake, there are a whole host of tutorials on YouTube for any individual process that you are trying to understand. So if you ever get stuck, a simple YouTube search will give you the answer you need.